Hi folks, welcome back to the Motorcycle Enquiries, and today we're going to have a look at religious experience and whether personal experiences or corporate experiences can really justify belief in God or a higher power.
So, big question, do religious experiences provide evidence for the existence of God or a higher power? And there's a lot of evidence to suggest that, yeah, actually they do. Okay, let's just see, because it doesn't look like there's anything, but you never know on these... Oh, there we go, car right there. Anyway, so, there's the effects. They are highly significant and often positive on the people that have them. If you judge an experience by its fruit, i.e. what James suggests, fruit in inverted commas, how people respond to it, then it would suggest that God has influenced these people. And also there's the volume of claims. David Hayes says that there's 30% of people have had a religious experience. That's a large body of evidence, particularly considering these experiences seem similar to each other. It all points in one direction, towards God, for those believers. However, there are responses to this. It's not empirical, because all this is within the mind. It's as R.M. Howe would call it, a blick. It's all within your individual mind, therefore it's unverifiable and unfalsifiable. And Donovan says there's a difference between feeling certain about something, which is subjective, and being right about something, which is objective. Just because you feel certain that you've had an experience doesn't mean that God actually does exist. And also you can interpret experiences differently. It could well be that actually someone else would interpret your religious experience as just a normal experience. Also, why does God only allow some people to access religious experience and not all of his believers? And Immanuel Kant suggests religious experience is logically impossible if God is wholly other. Okay, we're into Austin now. So this does beg the question, is personal testimony enough to support the validity of religious experiences? So that goes back to Swinburne's principles of testimony and credulity. Do you believe someone just because they've said it, on the basis that people often are telling the truth, and we should believe that? Okay, this is St Mary's in Austin. Quite an interesting one. I'm going to see if I can get a better view of it, if possible. It's a 13th century church, and the tower was rebuilt in the 18th century, and there's been bits added on in the 14th and 15th century. It's quite a nice little one, this one. Sort of, you can see the later Victorian bit. Yeah, quite pleasant. So yeah, I mean, Swinburne suggests that we should believe people when they say they've had a religious experience. But we do need to assess the trustworthiness of an individual. I'll just turn around. There's a big bus. Just as in a normal conversation, we assess whether people are actually telling the truth or not. Same goes with religious experiences, and Caroline Franks Davis suggests that because religious experiences are so important, they need more critical engagement than trivial everyday stuff. Bertrand Russell suggests that a good effect doesn't always provide evidence. In fact, it never provides evidence. You can get good effects from the fictional material. But there's also psychological explanations for stuff. Dawkins, for example, talking about memes, and not internet memes, but the idea that ideas evolve along with us, and some are beneficial to us. And then there's Persinger, who came up with this magnetic helmet that could bring about the feeling of a religious experience. Both of those suggest that there's psychological and physiological reasons why people might cling on to the idea of religious experience, or might experience these religious experiences without necessary God to make it happen. However, you can't just boil everything down to the physiological. I mean, you could say that what I'm experiencing right now can be boiled down to the physiological, but I know my motorcycle exists. I assume that my motorcycle exists. It doesn't rule out my motorcycle's existence, just because it's only physiological effects. So it's not necessarily fair to reduce it right down to the physiological. So what about corporate experiences? Are they more reliable than individual experiences if personal testimony isn't enough? There's the question of mass hysteria. which can be a big issue. There's the trivial nature of the acts that are associated with God, in things like the Toronto blessing, people barking like dogs. That's not good evidence necessarily. It's say, kind of trivial. Yeah, nice and clear. Right-hand turn's always tricky. Worth taking your time on if you're a biker. Yeah, so trivial nature of acts associated with God doesn't necessarily mean that it was God that caused it. Also, multiple individual experiences appear to be what you're getting with a corporate experience. It's not a truly shared experience, it's just lots of people having experiences in the same place that may look kind of similar. And also, if you don't believe one of these experiences, it's like timesing by 0. All you're doing is multiplying a whole load of things that you don't believe. It's still not more believable. So, all things considered, religious experience is very convincing towards the people who experience them, but even a corporate experience isn't necessarily any better than an individual experience if you don't believe it. The problem is there's just not the empirical evidence, and that's where it always falls down.